So for general population clients, people who are wanting to get a little bit fitter, a little more mobile, maybe they work office jobs, maybe they're getting a little older and haven't been into exercise for a while, maybe their movement's not all that great, maybe this applies to most of you watching this, a warm-up should get you ready for what you're about to do. So the first part of it might be as simple as jumping on a bike or a cross trainer or any bit of cardio kit and just getting your heart rate up, starting to get your mind focused on what you're about to do. The next part, however, wants to address all the major joints that you're about to work out. So if you were doing an upper body workout, maybe it wouldn't make much sense to mobilize your ankles all that much. But with most Gen Pop clients, we're looking at whole body workouts. So we want a whole body warm-up routine. So this is the one I roughly like, and then adapt based on the individual needs of the client and what they're good and bad at, what they're lacking. So we're going to start just laying on our back with a glute bridge. So all we're going for is 20 reps of a glute bridge. And you can find my glute bridge instruction video if you're not sure how to do a glute bridge. But we've got 20 reps just in this position. From here, we're then going to go into what we call a supine. This is a supine position, or technically this is a semi-supine position. That would be a supine position. If Chris just comes down here a little bit closer so she can see what's going to be going on at my arm in this position, I'm going to lay flat. I'm then trying to get my elbow and my wrist in contact with the floor in this position. This, for a lot of you, will be more external rotation and extension of your thoracic spine than you'll be able to get into, and will be a challenge enough, and perhaps you can only get to there. In which case, we can hang out in this position and just let gravity slowly get our arm closer and closer to the floor. If you want an extra challenge, you can get a small weight and let that do it. If you've got someone else around, you can get them to press your arm down into this position. But once you've got there, or you're roughly around there, we're then just going to slide the arm as far up the floor as we can get it while it still stays in contact, elbow and wrist, okay? And ideally we'll be able to get somewhere completely overhead. One of the ways this tends to go wrong for people is they'll arch their back in order, like, oh, look at me, I'm here. But if Chris can see underneath this, there's a big gaping arch, right? Which means it's not actually my arm that has extended into thoracic, into position from thoracic extension, this ribcage extension. It's coming from excessive lumbar movement. So we're locking this down. Easy way to test, get someone to whack you in the stomach. If you're not braced, if you try and get whacked in the stomach from here, it really hurts, right? Brace and lock down, that's a stable place to get whacked. It's also a stable position for the spine, right? So we're trying to stay in that whacked position, and then we extend. So we're just gonna do 10 reps in this position. Once we've gone for 10 of those, we're then going to go for a bird dog. I'm just going to angle myself slightly for this. So we start on all fours. The main aim with this is our spine is staying perfectly still. This leg is going to kick back, and the opposite arm is going to extend ahead of me. Then they're going to come in and back out. And again, this doesn't move. It's about what's happening on my hip and my shoulder in the bird dog. So I'm going to do 10 on one side, and then again 10 on the other. And this might be challenging enough for us not to kind of fall over and get too wobbly, but we've got 10 on each side with the bird dog. Then we'll go into 10 of a fire hydrant, right, which is so named because it looks like a dog taking a piss on a fire hydrant. We're in all fours again, but rather than this leg going backwards, this time it's coming out to the side. You'll see a lot of people try and really lift this up as high as they can, probably because they're trying to mimic that dog. We actually don't want that. What I'm interested in is what's happening at the hip joint. So I want my spine to stay fixed in this position, and I want this hip to lift out to the side. I could even circle it slightly. Right? So I go out to the side and circle it slightly, or I just go out to the side. And I just go 10 of these. There will be a slight shift over to this leg to stabilize, but once I'm on that, this spine doesn't then change position, so that I make sure it comes from the hip joint itself. It's 10 on one side, 10 on the other. Once I've gone for 10 on each side, the next bit, I'm going to move myself into a plank. I'm then going to bring my foot up towards my hand, so I'm in this extended lunge position, and I'm going to open up and rotate. I come down, I go for the other side, and I rotate. Now, once I'm here, and I'm externally rotating, there's a couple of things I'm looking for. This arm and this arm should make like a T shape. I'm really opening up through my chest, and my palm is facing away from me. It's facing towards the camera. It's not internally rotated, it's externally rotated through here. It reaches back down, and I would do the other side. It's 10 total, so 1 and 1, or 20 if you're thinking of opposite sides throughout this. The next part is a walking lunge with a high knee and a stretch. So the first bit is I'm going to stand on one leg and try and bring my leg up towards my chest. I'm then going to step down into a lunge and allow this to be a bit of a stretch position. I'm just going to hold this for 2 to 5 seconds. If you really want to adapt this and make it a little harder, I can also just reach myself up towards the ceiling in this position and open this line along the front of my leg up. 2 to 5 seconds. I stand back up. I then come onto the other leg, pull that towards my chest, hold for a moment, and then step back down, hold this position for 2 to 5 seconds, reach if I want to reach it, and it's 10 total reps of that. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Next up, we've got a band, or you could use a cable, external rotation, so a little bit of shoulder movement. Main thing is we want this roughly in line with the force itself. So in this case, with where my elbow joint is, or it could be up at my shoulder, I could have it a little bit higher, but I prefer in line with the elbow. I'm going to try and keep this locked tight into my body, straight wrist, and I'm just going to externally rotate my arm from here. I can add the challenge. If I go further out, this gets really hard. If I come a little closer in, it gets easy, and then I provide some challenge at the end range where I'm weakest in this position. If you use a cable, same thing, it's just a little more even throughout, but I'm going to go 10 reps on each side. Finally, we've got a hanging hold. As the name suggests, we're going to hang and hold that position. That allows us to stretch the arm while staying active in that stretch and also bracing and stabilizing the torso. So I can either do this with my palms facing away in what we call a pronated hang, or I could do it in a neutral grip in this position. Whichever one you want to go with is absolutely fine at this point. It's a little harder in pronated position, so you could use that as part of your guide. I'm going to go with the pronated position, and I'm going to let myself just hang in this place. Now, you want to be high enough up here so that you're actually able to not have your feet just on the ground. So this is just about high enough for me. You can see I've got my legs out in front of me slightly and my toes pointed, so that if Chris comes just around the side, what she's going to see is that my spine's basically in neutral. I'm not kind of hanging out in this non-active weird position for my spine. Everything stays braced, so I can clench my arse as hard as I can in this position. Brings my legs slightly in front of me, and I'm letting my shoulders not fully stretch. They're still a little active, but they're kind of hanging loosely, and my arms are straight in line with my ears. So I'm really expressing a lot of stabilization and a lot of range of movement through the major joints of my body. 30 to 60 seconds of a hang, that's the final part of the warm-up.